fam? I want to break down what it is we're running with this setup, the active skills, the passive skills, and the items being used to accomplish it. Which is the Lightning Spear with the Storm Lance combo, using Barrage as a backup, and she's running around on a Roa mount, which you can see here in the skill breakdown. Don't have to pay a lot of attention to what I have listed here. You don't have to worry about pausing the screen. I'll have a full analytic breakdown in the description below, but you can see, just for the sake of understanding the build itself, the skills we have running. The key components in understanding how this build works is we are first and foremost relying heavily on a couple of very specific and primary items that are necessary in making this build perform and operate at the level you see in the videos. Again, my mobilytic loadout will be in the description below. That details all of the breakdown for what each of these mods are. All you need to know is the Tangle Tongue's primary attribute that is critical to this build is that it forks on critical hits, in combination with the Lightning Spear forking and the scatter shot from the Storm Lance. There are several and multiple projectiles firing off all at once. We're using this in tandem with the Beacon of Aziz Solar Amulet, and the core component to this one being critical hits ignore monster elemental resistances, which is the mitigation of the monster's defenses towards lightning damage. So in understanding how the build works, your lightning is broken down into two components. The damage in and of itself, in order to have the damage receive or hit on target, it's necessary to lower the defenses of that target in order to maximize the damage output that we are putting in per strike, or the damage per second. When we are ignoring our enemy's defenses, their elemental resistances, every single one of our hits with a critical damage bonus percentage of 300% given to us from the Malagaro's Virtuosity Fine Bracers, or the gloves there. These items are necessary, the trifecta, in making the build work. Unfortunately, it's not a cheap build, but if you can afford to get these items, budget accordingly. But if you can afford these three items, you are cooking with gas, my friend. Another necessary component is the scepter. You're going to have to allot a lot of spirit here, and your scepter is the only way that you're going to be able to effectively be able to get that much and make it still work. Okay, but you're not going to be using that for any other reason other than the spirit that it gives you. So that is the necessary mechanics behind this well-oiled machine. And from here you can see how the build dynamics work on themselves. Before we get too much further into it, I want to revisit the mechanisms of shock and electrocute, which are two elements of lightning damage. There are 5 damage types in Path of Exile. Physical, which is just raw damage. It doesn't carry an elemental aspect to it. And then your elemental damages, your fire, cold, lightning, and chaos. And each of these elementals can do different types of elemental damage. The breakdown between these elements and what it is that they're doing when you're inflicting your lightning damage on your foes. So shock is a non-damaging lightning element that causes the target to take increased damage, meaning it lowers their defenses to lightning. Shock grants a debuff of 20% increased damage taken. This is additive with other damage taken modifiers. Shock does not stack. That's important. You cannot over accumulate shock. You either have it or you don't. Shock does not stack. Each instance of shock has an independent duration, and only the highest effect of shock will apply. Though there are things that change this rule, such as Stormweaver's Ascendancy nodes like Strike Twice. Critical strikes do not inherently always apply the elements, but they do indirectly affect the chance to apply elements due to critical damage bonus affecting the damage being dealt. Default shock, if otherwise unspecified, is 20%. This value can be increased through modifiers to effect magnitude of shock. Shock is capped at the maximum of 100%. Shock is one half of the lightning build. Now we're going to take a look at Electrocute. Electrocute, which you'll notice here, the only way you can apply Electrocute as an element is through the support gem, or through a set of gloves. Electrocute is a support gem that makes lightning damage from supported skills to cause electrocution buildup at the cost of being able to shock. When do you shock and when do you electrocute? Understanding when to do one versus the other is necessary in determining how you're going to do your build. Electrocute is something that does stack where shock does not. You can build up your electrocution to interrupt any kind of attacks that they would otherwise be channeling or performing. So if you're fighting a boss and he's getting ready to perform a big swing on you or you can interrupt them by building up the electrocute that you're inflicting on them. Electrocute can't shock and shock cannot electrocute, and neither one causes damage, but both of them are necessary in applying the damage of lightning that you're wanting to convey. And here you can see a quick glance at Mobilytics for those who are not familiar with what this resource is. Mobilytics is a community-based resource where players can go to upload their builds, the variants of their builds, and help other players in the community learn to basically use these as a template or a guide in what it is you're trying to do. So here is the Mobilytic breakdown for the Javazon War Rider using high crit damage to clear screen clears. Here you can see where I have each item broken down to what I am currently wearing. And it goes a little bit further with more resources here. Here are your skills. The skill gems that I'm running are loaded out here. This is the official setup of what I have going on. But it basically walks you through the steps of how this works when you proc your frenzy charges using your cast on criticals, which you can see is one of the skills here, which activates and gains energy every time I critically hit, which I'm critically hitting pretty much every single time. And it even has a breakdown of the passive skill nodes that would be selected in obtaining such of a build. But there you go. And what this is going to do is it's going to make it easier to understand and digest what it is that the character is doing, the mechanics that are at work and involved, but extremely fun way to play the Amazon build. What we're going to do is test this bad boy out and see how these specific skills will work with the lightning damages that we have stacked on top of it. Barrage, which is my first primary special skill, so this is my primary attack, secondary attack, third basic attack, just in case I need it. Barrage is my first big boy weapon, so these are your 50 cal Gatling guns, and this is your tomahawk or sidewinder. Okay, so this bad boy, when I activate it, it empowers my attacks to repeat twice, plus an additional time per frenzy charge consumed. So you'll see as I'm playing these little modifiers up here, one in particular that looks like a green cat's eye pop up with a number under it. Those are frenzy charges. I am generating those by electrocuting and shocking my enemies because of this skill right here. These are my, this is another buff that's running, that's buffing up all of the lightning stuff I'm spitting out. And there's my main skills, the Gatling gun cannons, my lightning spear, and my storm lance. So that's what the whole build centralizes around, and we get to ride on this bad bird who fights alongside me and fights enemies in front of me while I'm throwing spears on it. But there goes a lance. It's some little spears I threw in the ground that are shocking anything that's coming up next to me. That's the other half of my primary attack. The spear is obvious. It's what's coming off of me. Right up here is my frenzy charge. You see I got those going. So when I get some frenzy charges going like that, I'm going to hit this button down here, and it's going to supercharge my normal attacks, okay? So that's where we're going with it. you can understand what I'm doing a little bit easier now. So I charged it. Boom! And now we're going to throw a little lance down. Another little lance, because these guys like to come at me. I'm going to charge it again, in case that wasn't enough for him, and I hit his little friends with it. And I said, what? Now I'm off my little rider. I'm going to go pick up some stragglers. He's going to go over here and run some interference for me. And I'm telling you what, boys and girls, this build is fun as hell to play if you play these kind of games. So like I said, you know, my friends that weren't, they say that these games intimidate them because they don't understand the math and how to calculate this stuff. You don't have to understand it. You don't. The game does it automatically for you. And you got guys like me out here putting together builds to help it make sense. So you don't have to understand it at all. Just do what I'm doing and you'll be a rock star too. Gonna charge it. Boom! Hit them all with it at one time. So lightning is not considered OP because it is hard to get it to do all of that. But if you understand how to put the right things together, you can take it from doing a single boss type of modifier that the game was intended for and turn it into a crowd pleaser, crowd clearer type of build. So essentially the build will allow you to take out a group of enemies without being overwhelmed. Yep. Yep. Just like that. Sometimes I have to sacrifice my bird, but that's why he's there. He comes back. He comes back. But it gives me just enough of a break and a distance to get away from that mob to throw something back at him and get him off my... Means every time I throw something out, I'm putting up criticals, which means every time I crit, I'm getting a frenzy charge. So it's like this perpetual wheel or this machine that keeps itself oiled so I don't have to run short on any of these resources in order for her to work. It's like as soon as I walk up on something, boom, frenzy charges up there. And we are playing no games with it, bro. You understand how it all works together. Like each of these things do different things, and you learn how to piece them together like a big puzzle. And once you get that far along, it really becomes fun. Because you can customize it, so you don't have to play the same stuff. Like you could run this one, we can have a whole squad of Huntresses, and all of us do different things. Whoo-wee! And that's how you do it, boys and girls. That was a T3 or Tier 3 map. It's capable. That's all I'm going to say. You just got to know how all this stuff works. That's all. At this level, my monsters that I'm fighting have high lightning resistances until I hit them with the lightning, and then they have none. And so anybody that's interested in this build and how to do exactly what you're seeing done here, I'm going... Oh, sweet. I will have a full video breakdown on my YouTube channel and a full upload on the Mobalytics that breaks down everything from every single piece of gear that I have to every skill and support gem that's being operated right now, in addition to my passive skills. All of these skills we hadn't even talked about working behind the scene. But it's fun. This game is super fun. And you'll always have love for it.